What's up, everybody? Nick Powills, publisher of 1851franchise.com, here with Michael Brown and Matt Kelton from Children's Lighthouse. What I love about these conversations is it allows us to do a deep dive with a brand and get to know what is the vision of the leadership and where is the brand going. So, Michael, I'm going to start with you. Just give me a brand update. How are things going with the business? What are you excited about? And what are you looking forward to, say, in the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, we're at a really exciting period for us. We've had, like many, had some challenges in the past, overcoming some difficult situations, COVID, post-COVID, but we were able to do an incredible amount operationally, implementing a lot of new systems. Just went through a new brand refresh. We've got a great team in place, and we're set to go. So we're excited for what the future has.
Matt, you've been in franchising for some time. I don't need to date or age you in any of this, right. But when you were looking at taking this role to lead development at Children's Lighthouse, what excited you about the business opportunity, and what did you see as the opportunity, specifically as an outsider first, and then as an insider once you got in?
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, clearly they have a solid model. They've never had an SBA failure in 27 years, which is kind of stunning, frankly. I've never seen that before. The demand is bigger than ever. You have 14.4 million children. 2 out of 3 kids are in childcare, and there's just a huge supply-demand situation going on. So that was another piece. They're well capitalized. They have a great team in place and just potential for growth. I mean, they've doubled their revenue from like 60 million to 2020 to around 130 million last year. They doubled the number of franchises in that time frame. So to me, the potential to create even $1 billion company in 10 years is, you don't find those very often. So I think it's the opportunity is just incredible.
Now, Matt, you're looking at it as an outsider at that point. When you get in and you start having conversations with candidates, do you feel two sides to this question? Do you feel like they understood the opportunity as clearly as you did? And then how have those conversations been like?
Well, most of them really don't. They, when they come in here, they have a love of children. They see that there's a big demand. A lot of times they come from our schools. They say there's like a 2-year waiting list. And this seems like a great business. And so when you walk through the unit economics, because this isn't just a business, this is also a commercial real estate play, because you're investing in real estate. You're building from, taking land, buying it, building a school. And then over time, you're going to have potential over a 20-year time period to sell for, a great multiple. And so there's the potential for wealth creation and creating a legacy for families is just unlike anything I've ever seen in my years working. We average $2 million a year gross revenue. Our top guys are doing $3 to $3.5 million. That's one piece, but it's the other piece is the lifestyle. There are no nights or weekends. A director runs the day to day. So in their first year of operation, our owners may be spending 20 hours a week. After that, 10 hours or less. I mean, you just don't see that. Most franchises I've worked, even after your stars, are working 50-hour weeks after 5 years. So if you combine all that together, it's something pretty powerful.
Michael, one thing Matt just teed up, and I think this is part of the magic of your guys' brand compared to other brands that are similar in look and feel in the category, is family and legacy. When he says those 2 words, how does that resonate with you and speak volumes to what obviously you guys are trying to accomplish as a business?
Absolutely. Matt and I have talked a lot lately, about our vision and about the company's vision, along with our leadership team. We feel like we've slowly and steadily grown, trying to get it to where we want it to be. Put the infrastructure in place, the team in place, and now we feel like we're there. And again, like Matt was saying, we've got an incredible industry. It was something that drew my dad and my uncle when they founded the company to this industry. They had a strong passion for education back then. Myself and my 2 younger brothers I was a freshman in high school and they were younger. And so they had a passion for education, for enriching children's lives. And then they also saw a huge growth opportunity for the industry. And so that has continued to play out. And it's one of those things where we've been talking about the numbers with our industry, all the incredible things that this industry has to offer. We also want to show people who we are, how we're different from some of our competitors and some other people and some different other industries. And that's something that's very important to us. We were founded very family oriented. My dad and my uncle started the company, and from day one, my mom, my grandmother, myself, and my two brothers were all heavily involved. It was a family business from day one, all hands on deck. Their other brother, my other uncle, joined as a franchisee as well, and so it was an incredible experience, and they created this culture, this foundation, this family first attitude that I want when I took over. I wanted to maintain. I wanted to continue what they created, and then ultimately I would love to pass it on to a third generation, to my children. I've got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and one of these days I would love for them to take my spot and continue what my father and my uncle and myself have continued. So, again, we don't have shareholders or private equity board. Our team, our board is family members and our leadership team. We make decisions based upon what we feel is best for our franchisees and for the brand itself. We don't have to make quotas from shareholders or private equity boards. We make decisions based upon what we feel is best for the long-term future of Children's Lighthouse. Again, our franchisees are individuals. They're families to us. They're part of our Children's Lighthouse family, and that's how I always want to maintain that relationship is seeing them for who they are and what we can provide for them, and in turn for how to help them provide for their customers and the children that they provide for. So it's a story we want people to know, and we want to see. We want them to see who we are.
Michael, two follow-up questions on that. One, I'm curious, and it's kind of twofold. I'll set it up in two ways. The question really is, as you're going through early adulthood and you're processing, do I want to be in this business or not? How did you fall in love with it? With the caveat or the statement, I would imagine a lot of franchisees at this stage in the business, it's not multi-generational for the majority of franchisees. And so the way that they're falling in love with the business is they take their child to Children's Lighthouse, they see it from an outside, and they're looking at the category in general and fall in love with the category in general. But for you had to mentally, as an adult, young adult, go through the process of, I really want to work with my dad? Do I really want to work with my uncle? Like, how did you process that as a human? And then how did you ultimately fall in love with the business?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, from day one, our dad told me and my two brothers, I would love for you to take this business over. I want to build this for you guys. I want this to be your company someday, but I don't want you to do something that is not right for you. It's not your passion. And so we did. We all went through our different avenues. I was not necessarily going to come back and work at Children's Lighthouse, but I knew that my father and my uncle would have liked that, and so I wanted to give it a chance. And I have a degree in finance. I was actually going into commercial real estate at the time, learning what ultimately did help some skill sets that helped with this business itself. But when I came back, I've heard horror stories of working with family, and it can be very difficult. And I knew that was a possibility. But again, we had an incredible team in place. They had created a culture and a foundation that was just like anything that I had worked at previously in my short career after college. And the longer I worked with our team at Children's Lighthouse, the more I realized this was the place for me. It was the right culture. Everybody was a team member. We were all working together. We were family members. So we were all, it was just a very different dynamic than what I'd seen. And, again, after I started from the ground up, my dad wanted me to learn what it took to run every aspect of the business. And every step I took, the more I became, fell more in love with what we had, what they had created, and our team. So it was a no-brainer by the time I had worked my way through the ranks, and I'm proud of what they've done, and hope to continue along those same lines.
Before I leave that follow-up question, I want to throw this on here. Not a dig at a painting franchise, but I'll use that as the avatar.
Yeah.
It's probably different for you own a painting franchise and your children look at it and say, okay, maybe mom or dad built up a great painting franchise. But in your case, at least my perception, I'm curious on how emotionally this hooked with you, but you're impacting families' lives. And so the purpose behind the business is that tugging, is that making this easier for you? Because if dad and uncle go and create a painting franchise, yes, it's cool that they built a business, but there's such an emotional community impact to this. Did that impact you on that?
Yeah, again, that was very important to my dad and my uncle. They had that strong passion. And when again, this was before I had children. So I had, I knew it was a great feel-good industry. You can see the impact you're making on the education of the children that we served, the future of America, but it still didn't have the same effect until I had my own children, and I realized how important what the service we provided was. The teachers that were involved, the franchise owners that were involved, the leadership team, everybody that was involved to help educate children and help the communities that we serve. So yeah, it definitely not only was it important to me in the beginning, but as I grew and had a family myself, it definitely is very impactful. And that's what I tell many of our franchise owners right when we first start talking to them is, it's one of those things where it's a responsibility. It's a great responsibility, taking care of children. Parents are putting the trust of their most important thing in their lives in your hands. And so it's very, it's very important that you take that seriously, that you take the responsibility seriously, but at the same time, you just can't, there's no other industry where you can walk in and see smiling faces every single day. You can see children go from one week to the next, not knowing their ABCs, not knowing how to read, to all of a sudden, they're reading level 1 books, they're reading level 2 books the next month. And it's just incredible to see that type of, that type of impact. And I think it's impactful for a lot of people to see. So yeah, I love it. It's important to me.
Okay, so my second follow-up question, Michael, you can start first, and then Matt take the same question. But you talk about family-owned, family board members, leadership on my board team. We can make decisions. My perception, and I would put this across all franchising, but very specifically a higher end investment where you're dealing with a different level of financials. Not just to get in, but on a potential that you can make. I mean, you're playing in a different category. What I don't think is talked about enough in educating franchise buyers is how private equity can impact positively or negatively the franchisee. And so I think about like when private equity is working through P&Ls, they're looking at how do we protect how much money is coming in. Obviously, when private equity has stepped in and made a purchase of a business, they want to recoup their investment typically over a 3 to 5 year period and then position the brand for that next flip. And so if I'm a high-end investor and I'm trying to pick which jockey to bet on, I'm looking at a brand like yours because you could make the decision, for argument's sake, to take your net profitability down to 0 for a short-term investment of impacting the unit level economics of a franchisee through support. when I say these things, Michael, like, is that something that maybe the buyer doesn't recognize as such a huge value to joining your system? Is like, I'm talking directly to the top and there's not as much red tape. Is that the way that I'm seeing it accurate?
Yeah, I mean, again, every franchisee has my personal cell phone number, our leadership team's cell phone numbers, because again, like I was saying earlier, we do with their family to us. They're part of the Children's Lighthouse family. We do provide the amount of support we do because we want to ultimately do everything we can to help them to be successful. Again, in the beginning, one of the core foundations that my dad and my uncle were to help educate children, to enrich children's lives and enrich the communities that we're in. But the other side of that, when they started heavily looking into franchising, was to give other people, other families and individuals the opportunity that we had to create a business, to own your own business, be your own boss, create your own future. And that's something that is important to me as well. So that's something that we're always thinking of. We might make decisions that are not necessarily the best short-term decisions, but we know in the long term that's what is the most important. With our growth, with everything that we've done, building our infrastructure and our team, we always wanted to be a solid foundation. We wanted to have everything in front of us before we moved on to the next thing, so that we could provide the absolute best support that we were able to.
Matt, how does my statement about private equity, when you think about the sales process, does that turn into part of your why you why now in the position?
Yeah, we talk a lot about it. And again, we've got an incredible support and operations team, like 250 years of experience. And some of them have worked with some of these big private equity groups. And they literally would tell them how many chicken nuggets they could give each kid. I mean, it's to that type of level. And so, again, the family first culture we talk a lot about. And again, the ad fund, just if you look at a couple of real differentiators, our costs are substantially lower. Our national advertising fund is 0.5%. And we think we deliver incredible value. Some of our competitors, 4%, 5% or higher for their national ad fund. On a $2.5 million business, that can be $65,000, $75,000 a year. Actually, they're putting in their pocket literally millions of dollars over the lifetime of an agreement. So that's a big thing for us. Our franchise coaches to school ratios is much lower. And Michael has often said he's frankly overinvested in support. But we have 15 schools per coach. Our competitors have 50 to 75. So the thing I hear a lot is there's just a lot more hand holding. There's just a lot more assistance and FaceTime. We're going to go see them 4 to 6 times a year, if not more. We've got region events for the directors and the owners throughout the year. And so that's a huge piece as well. And then, the final piece is, we have 100 schools open or in development. We've got plenty of greenfield opportunities. A lot of these guys are frankly sold out, or some of our best markets are sold in a lot of areas. So there's a lot of key differentiators, but again, the culture, and again, that was another thing that drew me to the company. And the thing I hear about Michael is just, he's a salt to the earth, really down to earth kind of person. And there aren't many private equity companies you could call the president of the company on a Sunday night. He'll pick up the phone and talk to you. And so there's just a lot more of that type of interaction, and it's relationships like anything, and that's a core part of what we do here.
I mean, Matt, what you just went over, and you've seen plenty of franchise brands. Most don't have that. This brand does, and clearly, Michael's not putting pressure on to scale because he doesn't have to. He wants to grow responsibly. When you're thinking about this and you get in here and you're thinking about the sales process, is this an awareness challenge? Because why? Like, actually, twofold. I'm gonna make the question even more complicated. Is it an awareness issue? And do your current franchisees understand how good they have it compared to what else is in the category?
Well, maybe not, but I think in general, I think they love the culture and support. I mean, our franchise coaches and the support, we do franchise business review every year. They get really high marks in that. And so, yeah, I think they see it. I don't think we spend a lot of time comparing ourselves to our competitors to make them aware of the differentiators. But, you know, the proof's in the pudding and on the unit economics and the profitability of the franchisees. And, you know, half the franchises we're selling right now are to existing owners. And so I think that's a big validator that they're willing to invest a big investment for additional schools. And so those are the things that we look at for sure.
Is the gap, Matt, that the financial qualifications has to align perfectly for this to make sense? Is that part of the gap that you need to close here moving into the future, that you need to make sure that someone's financially sound enough to enter the system?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is there's two ways to get into one of our schools. You can lease or do a build to suit, and it's around $1 million project. You would need $400,000 liquid. Our equity or ground up, it's a $6 or $7 million investment. Now you can get 85% of that funded by the SBA, but you're still going to need around $1.2 million liquid. So this is going to be someone who's wanting to add to their portfolio, someone who's well capitalized, investment groups. And so it's got to be someone who has the funds to build the school, but also to be able to scale it and have the money to not only run the business, but also cover their own overhead expenses. And it's 2 to 3 years to get a school open. So there's a lot to getting the site selection, zoning. So there's a lot of pieces to getting these things done. But the financial piece of that is one thing, but we spend a lot of time, interviewing the prospect, making sure, are they a fit? Are they someone do we want in the family? Is there someone who's going to do a good job running the playbook, which we talk a lot about? And again, we're lucky that we're not forced to hit a certain number every quarter or we're all gone. Like some franchises I've worked with, if they're a great fit, then, and we all, whenever we have a discovery day on Monday, we have several groups coming in, and after it, we'll sit down as a group and, see what we feel. What does it look like? We'll look at all the data, but we'll also see can they fit in? Are they going to be successful in our view? And so we're going to be pretty picky on where we go. We're also going to be kind of strategic in the markets. We don't, our plan is not to try to be in 48 states right away. So we're in around 11 states right now. And Dallas, Fort Worth, we've got 30 locations. We've got around 30 in Houston. Those are big markets, but we could add another 30. And so we're going to really spend time filling out the existing locations. Raleigh, Durham's another area that we're looking at, Orlando. And so really we've got around 6 target areas that we're really focusing on. Not that we won't go to other areas, but we really want to flesh out those major, metro markets where we have a presence.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, like Matt said, we've got a ton of growth potential, but as he also said, they've got to be aligned with who we are. We do have very strong core values. We have a very strong mission statement, and our infrastructure, our team is so important to the success of this company. But the other side of that coin is we've got to have great franchisees that align with the company's vision. And so that's such an important part, that their core values and their mission align with what we want to do. And so far, we've got an incredible group of franchisees that have been able to do that and been very successful.
Michael, I'm curious. And obviously, you've had tremendous success. The business is financially strong, and so for a lot of people that have hit a threshold of wealth in life, like financials just turn into a scorecard. So has because there's already success, you're very grounded. Has that limited your sense of urgency, or has that allowed you to be patient with this process, or are you feeling an urgency to grow? Like where does your mind stand at? How's your personal scorecard?
No, so again, from day one, we were very measured in our approach to growth. We started as company locations, weren't even looking into franchising until we had a group kind of basically convince us to start franchising, which we did, but it was very organic. We were never looking to grow a franchise department. It was a few a year, and then it started growing more, and we decided that this was an incredible opportunity for our brand to be expanded across the nation. We felt like we had an incredible system in place, had an incredible brand, and we wanted to share that. And so we felt it was also a way to share, to allow other individuals, like I said earlier, to get into business for themselves. And so it fit all these categories that we wanted to achieve. But at the same time, we didn't want to focus the quality. We wanted quality to always be number one, not just in what the system provided, but also the support we were able to provide. And so, we slowly have started to grow. And now, again, every time we get to a place where we have an incredible infrastructure, we've got an incredible team, we've got all the systems and the pieces in place right now, we feel like we're at a threshold, we're at a focal point of growth. And that is going to be our goal. We want to expand into these markets that we're already currently in, that we have several more opportunities, as well as some different markets that we feel like are great markets for Children's Lighthouse, for our brand. And there's a huge demand for childcare, the type of childcare that we provide. And so we feel like this is a point that we can really start expanding in the near future. Over the next few years, I think we'll be seeing a lot more growth. And at the same time, it's always going to be a measured growth. We're never going to grow faster than we feel like we can support it. But with the support and infrastructure we have in place, I think we are going to see over the next few years extensive growth.
Michael, what's a good day for you? What makes you happy in a day?
Every time I hear a success story from one of our franchisees, whether it be that they're able to achieve their life goals, or that they have a child at one of their schools that has done something incredible. A lot of our franchise owners have gone through the system to where they're at their 12-year mark. So we do, our care goes from 6 weeks to all the way up to 12 years through our after-school program. And some of our franchisees, a lot of our franchisees have seen some of those 6-week-old children grow through their system, become young adults at 12 years and graduate. And it's such, they tell me the stories, and I can't really explain it the way they can, because they're the ones that are actually experiencing it. But it's so incredible to hear their emotions and the bittersweetness of they're seeing the success of these children, and they're graduating and going on to different things. But at the same time, they've been with them for 12 years and they're not going to see them anymore. One of the children at one of our schools published a book, and the franchisee called me up that very second and told me all about it, and they were so happy, and it was an incredible experience. So, like you were saying earlier, this industry is such a feel-good industry. You see so many incredible things. It's every single day. There are challenges like every other business out there, but there's a lot that'll put a smile on your face every single day.
Matt, there's a misconception in majority of franchising that there's absentee businesses or semi-absentee. Obviously, at some point, if you scale a business, you got to figure out how do you replace yourself at the existing unit and move on to the next. But how does absentee play into this?
Well, it's a director-led model. So, before the school opens, you're going to find someone who comes out of this industry that they're going to come to training in Fort Worth with that owner for a week. And we're going to spend a lot of time getting them up to speed. And so the owner's job is more of a CEO role. So that we have systems, tools for them to review, attendance, revenue, just all of our key profit indicators or KPIs. But you're going to have a director and assistant director who run the day-to-day. And, what we found is, frankly, when the owners are spending too much time in the schools, they get in the way. And the schools do better once they pull back. And so that's, I've not seen a business with the systems and the structure, and really our curriculum, which we really haven't touched on yet, is really the driver for this. We have proprietary 4 different curriculum here that we feel are the cream of the crop. When we started, we bought off the shelf, which was good, but it was not our own proprietary systems. And so having those structures in the playbook allows that director to run the schools. And at a certain point, and again, we love for people to have multi locations, you hire an executive director who manages those director level people. And so we're dealing with a really sophisticated franchise prospect or investor, and they're looking for the most part at having multi-schools and as an investment piece. But if you just look at how we have this really systematized and structured with that director-led model, it works extremely well. And I've seen a lot of owners get burned out spending 50, 60-hour weeks for years and years. And so being able to have a real life, no nights or weekends, and having the director who runs the day-to-day has been a big help. But they also need to be involved. And so we talk about balcony management here. So you're not too high, you can't see, but you're also not on the ground where you don't know what's going on. You want to be just high enough to manage the team. So it really is a CEO type of a role that our owners have.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, two different roles, very different roles. And we have two very extensive trainings for both of those roles. One for the director and the management team, and one for the owner, because their duties are very much different. The director and their team are there every single day, day-to-day operating, and then the franchisee is more of an overhead role that sets goals and helps their team achieve those goals. And so it's one of the things that our team has done so well to help help each one know how to manage that relationship and those job duties.
I love that.
So we have an incredibly diverse franchise base, and a lot of them, again, this is my first summer here, a lot of them have taken a good chunk of July off to go overseas to where their families are from. So that's one of the great parts of this business, is you can leave for weeks knowing your business is going to be running smoothly and it won't be major drama when you come back. And so that's really, really a different piece compared to any franchise I've been around.
Matt, what are some of the perceived roadblocks that a candidate that is looking at the outside may look at Children's Lighthouse, say, I'm not going to move forward, either once they've become a lead or before they even fill out the form on your website? What are some of the misconceptions on roadblocks that you want a ghost candidate or a candidate that's watching this to know is not true, and here's the other view?
Right. So the first parts are, do I need experience in doing this? And really, very few people have any experience in running this business. And so we want people who love, they need to love kids and love education, but they also need to be good business people and willing to follow a system. And so that's one piece, you don't have to have experience in this model. The financial aspect, just understanding what's really required, that's clearly something that comes up early in the process, and they may underestimate the amount that's really required for what we do. So that's an area. There's questions about staffing, and staffing's big. It's an open issue with anyone. So we have typically 25, 30 total staff members if you add all the teachers and just people who work in the school, and you're constantly adding people, and so that's. The good thing is when we open, a lot of the workers from other competing, childcare and early education schools come to us wanting to work with us. So the staffing piece that's another question that comes up. And then, you get questions about, because you hear, the horror stories that you may potentially hear about, issues that could happen with kids and different situations. And we've got an incredibly supportive group who and I always tell them there's nothing you'll go through that we haven't had situations to handle. But security is really our number one focus at Children's Lighthouse. So we have 2 security cameras in every room. We've got, systems, process. We're rolling out AI systems that can, for example, monitor if someone, a gun is brought in, for gosh sakes, or if, there's a parent dispute with the divorce situation, we can see the license plate of one of the other parents and alert the police. And so if a child is left outside, God forbid, it'll alert the school that that there's an issue, or if a teacher leaves. So we have a lot of systems to manage that type of thing. And so that's I would say those are probably the biggest questions. But I think once they go through our process and also have conversations with our franchisees, I think they're put at ease that we've got a really nailed down system here.
I mean, Matt, everything you're saying, it feels like a great business opportunity. The only hurdle I see is that it's going to take some time from signing to opening. This is not like pay my fee, get trained, and up and running, but you're also dealing with a higher end investment. So again, like when you get in here and you look at this and you have all these check boxes hit, is this an awareness issue? Is it that not enough people know that this business opportunity exists because so many check boxes?
Well, yeah, and we've been really, focused on slow, smart growth, and so we are doubling our franchise marketing efforts to get out there. So we're wanting to go from selling 5 or 8 a year to 25 or 30. So that's kind of our end goal in the next couple of years. And so you're right, there's awareness, telling the story, having people understand it, so in a better way. So we're coming up with new websites, videos, day in the life, to really tell the story of what we're about. So I think that's an important part of this for sure. But it's just we feel like we've got a great business model. The numbers have been growing really quickly for us, and things like this where we can communicate and share stories and have Michael tell his story as well about the family, the family culture versus private equity, and just kind of what makes us different. I think those are things that having that type of content to share with people and telling that story are going to be really powerful in the future.
I mean, Michael, it seems like you're still living the dream. Like you've built a tremendous business and you still have plenty of dreaming to do. What are you most excited about here in the upcoming months? I mean, again, like everything we've discussed, family run, family built, good cost to get in, engineered business opportunity, awesome curriculum, the security, the AI, the advancement, like so much has come together. What is the dream now?
I mean, again, we had started with an incredible foundation with my dad and my uncle creating a culture. We have an incredible team over the last 5 or 6 years. We have come through so much. We've done so much. It's incredible to see the new systems we have, the new processes we have, the new technology. Everything that has come about over the last 5 years is so incredible to see in action and going to the schools. We have a new technology board at our schools now, which our franchisees are loving it, our parents are loving it, and it's an incredible system that I'm just so thrilled to see. And it's things like that. We are continuing to innovate. We've got a forward-thinking team that is always looking to be one step ahead. We feel that we are an industry leader in several areas, and we want to continue that. And so that's my goal right now, is to maintain the culture that we have, the family-focused, the personal relationships that we've built, and want to continue that focus, but also continuing to innovate and to be the best system out there. And so that's my goal. That's what I'm proud of at this moment, and that's what I'm excited for the future.
I love it. Matt, let's close on this. There's a candidate that's watched this up to this point. What else do you want them to know about the business opportunity?
So we've made some major inroads on marketing for parents and recruiting students and enrollment early in the process. And just to give you an example of some of just the demand, we just opened a location in Austin, Texas, near Tesla. And our schools are larger. You're looking 200 plus students in a school. And 3 weeks before it opened, there was 255 prepaid registrations, which is so we have a waiting list already in a school. And we just opened one in the DFW market. It's a similar situation. So the demand is way bigger than supply right now. And, we're going to be selling out, honestly, some of these markets probably in the next couple of years. So if people want to get involved in this and take advantage of it, really now is the time. We've got, great ways to get them funded. We've got national relationships, and, I'd love to explore these conversations to make people aware of kind of where we're going. And, you're building a community with these schools. And that's another thing I really caught on. Starbucks years ago says that they were the third place. There was home, there was work, and they're in the middle. So when you go in these schools, the directors know the name of every kid. The parents know each other. So it is a tight-knit group. And so it's just, you're making an impact on community. We have 12,000 students around the country. I mean, you just think the impact on the families that you're having. It's a feel-good piece. It's an investment piece. And it's just, as far as finding the right opportunity, I'm not seeing one like this in my 25 years of franchising.
All right, I said we were going to close on that, but Michael, I have a philosophical question, because what Matt just said, this hits me in the head, and I'm curious on your thought. Like, if you pay attention to the news, there's teaching crises in so many markets across America. And obviously this is a little bit different than a traditional school setting. Like, as you age up, you're going to go to traditional school, private or public, in the marketplace. But in part of your opening statement, you're talking about how a kid can go from not reading to level 1, level 2 books, or advance throughout this. Philosophically, do you see, and part of the demand built up in an Austin or a Dallas, is this because there's a desire either for supplemental education that has totally changed the game of maybe when your dad and uncle are involved, it swings more towards daycare and a solution for the working parents, and now like the emotional impact is so great that offset some of the things that are just happening in general education?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, when my dad and my uncle were first starting, they saw the demand. Dual income families have been around for a long time, and we're not going anywhere. Same like today. There's so many dual income families that need childcare. Pre Children's Lighthouse, in the very early stages, most childcare was more daycare. There was not a huge educational aspect to it. My dad and my uncle realized that was the future. The future was parents want to provide what's best for their children. They want to set them up for success. And it wasn't as well known. And over the last 25 years, parents realize how important childcare is to the education, developmental goals of their child, and social skills. I mean, it's so important for a child to be exposed to these environments, and it gives them one step ahead. And I think that's what parents are seeing these days, and that's why there's such a huge demand. It's a difficult industry to get in, as y'all were alluding to earlier. Financially trying to get one of these open, it can take time. It can take money. Again, that's probably that is a barrier to entry, which makes it difficult when you're first starting out, but it helps when it helps financially when you're getting into it, because there's not as many competition that come about. But at the same time, our goal is just to provide our services. We want, there's a huge demand nationwide for high quality educational childcare, and that's what we want to provide in as much capacity as we can. So hopefully, it's terrible that there is such a demand for it, but we want to do our best to help ease that burden as much as we possibly can.
All right, I lied one more time, Matt. I'm gonna put up this question, and I'm gonna do it twofold. I'm gonna put up both of Jerry's questions just because he added this. He said, "What is the average annual income for a Children's Lighthouse franchise owner?" And his second question is, "What are the yearly revenue benchmarks for the top performing Children's Lighthouse franchises?" How would you answer those questions?
Yeah, so our average franchise revenue is $2 million. Our top performers are in the $3 to $3.5 million gross revenue number.
Okay, and then obviously, Jerry, if you're watching this live, or to anybody that's watching live, the pathway of least resistance is obviously get in touch with Matt, start the process, and then when you're going through due diligence and you're able to have deeper conversations with franchise owners, they will probably give you the best insights possible as you go through that journey. So, well, guys, thank you so much for doing this. Great conversation. 45 minutes went by very, very quickly. From my standpoint, and I've already said this to both of you, I think there's a beautiful business engineered here. What stands out for me is private equity has not entered this business at this point. I see that as a big value, because I don't think there's anybody your size without that royal thumb of P&L management on your back. And that clearly, when we talk about support, it's very attractive. And then Matt, what resonated with me, as I would be an awful franchisee because I would tell a brand what's wrong with them. But as someone that could be a franchisee, what resonated with me, you said, we're looking for people to be the CEO, like go be the CEO of your organization. And that really stood out for everything that you've built. So awesome conversation. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for everybody that watched live and who's watching this online. Go visit Children's Lighthouse franchise website, fill out that form and start the conversation. Last thing I'll say is filling out that form costs you $0. So if you've watched this, you're engaged, go fill it out and have a conversation. It's good advice just to talk with Matt and Michael. So thank you guys for doing this.
Thank you, Nick. Great.
Yeah, for Michael and Matt, I'm Nick. This is another episode of Children's Lighthouse Meet the Zor. Take care.